Good evening. Thank you very much. And it's indeed a honor and a privilege to cross the river to come over here to Virginia tonight to talk about my plans and my vision for the United States. Uh, it's always good to cross the river to get out of D.C. and be back. I know it's just actually just across the Potomac River, but it's good to be back here and be back with folks and talking about the real issues that face our nation. Tonight, I do want to outline with you, for you actually, my agenda and what I see, what I believe is the most important things facing our nation. You know, during the past 3 years, our nation has been through many things. We have gone through a once in a lifetime pandemic, and we've become more polarized. Instead of talking about our disagreements, we take to the streets in violence. For us to move forward as a nation, we must come together as a nation. Tonight, I want to lay out for you my plan to return America to the nation it once was. In the past 3 years, we have seen progress from record high unemployment of close to 15% to 3.3 unemployment. What a drop that is. What a drop that is. And it will get better under a system I called enhanced unemployment. We will reform the unemployment system, a system that was taken advantage of during the pandemic. Recently, the Department of Labor announced that there are 1.6 jobs available for every American. 1.5 jobs available for every American. And so I ask the question, why are we still unemployed? If there's 1.5 jobs available for each one of us, why are we still on unemployment? Under my new system that I actually talked about just a few weeks ago, called enhanced unemployment, everyone on unemployment will have to have a minimum of 5 interviews a week to continue to qualify for continued benefits. And every able-bodied American will have a job. Now, let me make this clear tonight. When I say able-bodied, I'm not talking about our seniors. They've earned their retirement. I'm not talking about the stay-at-home parent. They made that choice and are making it work. What I am talking about is the person who took unemployment during the pandemic and never returned to the workforce. They are part of that 3.7% that we need to get lower. This must change, and under my administration, it will. When it comes to our borders, our nation's borders, we must protect them. The United States has always been a nation that welcomes people from throughout the world, but we do that through the proper methods. We don't just walk into the United States or walk through border areas. Last February, I made a trip to El Paso and visited our southernmost border. When I visited the international bridge there in El Paso that connects the United States with Mexico, I saw hundreds of people crossing the bridge and entering the United States the proper way. Not crossing the Rio Grande River, going into people's lands, and entering the United States the improper way. We must reestablish our borders in this nation, and under my administration, we will do that. One of the first things I said I would do 3 years ago is to continue construction of the border wall. And the thing is, we have paid for that border wall. There are literally parts of it sitting in the desert, in the high desert, just sitting there. Money's been spent, contracts have been let. Let's put that material to work. Let's put the people back to work who built this wall. Let's finish the wall. On the world stage, we must be a protector of democracy. The United States is one of the leading democracies left in the world. Matter of fact, we are right behind India. We're the second oldest democracy. And you hear people talk about the United States as that great American experiment. And even though our country has a lot of difficulties, and it does, I'm not going to stand here tonight and tell you we don't have our problems. But I will tell you, every emerging democracy in this world looks upon the United States as that shining example of democracy. We are literally a 248-year experiment that people still look upon and say, hey, this is the way you run a nation. As a world leader, we must do what it takes to protect democracy. And that starts at the state level. We have seen schools shuttered, now reopen. And we have seen an increased polarization in our nation in these schools. To restore our nation to greatness, we must start in our nation's schools. Since the pandemic, our nation's classrooms have unfortunately become a political battlefield. It is a battlefield where our students will suffer. Under my administration, we will end that battle and return education to the classroom where it belongs. We will teach the ABCs, the 1, 2, 3s, and the good and bad of our history. By doing this, we can ensure that our next generation does not repeat the same mistakes. I have had the good fortune to be married to a full-time educator for over 20 years. And I'm so proud to say tonight that she is, in fact, a full-time educator that's hard at work now back at school. Matter of fact, they just had their first day in school. And I'm very proud to call her a full-time educator. Early in our marriage, she wanted to teach summer school after teaching a full school year. She said at the time she did it for the extra pay. At the end of summer, as the fall term approached and summer school winded down, she was tired, not fully charged, and ready to take on another 9 months of school. And let me tell you, just before I came on stage tonight, I talked to her. She just went through her first day of school, 25 pre-Kers, and she's exhausted. But how do we solve a situation like Andrea's and countless other teachers who are working so hard to make extra income? The simple way to do it is increase teacher pay. Now you're going to ask me here tonight, how do we increase teacher pay? How do we do that? We must make teachers, their pay, a livable wage. Too many of our teachers are living on the poverty level. Just think about that. These teachers work tirelessly. A lot of people think educators have the greatest job in the world, and they actually do. But they put in so much work. You probably think about it, they probably put close to 80 hours a week. It's not just 7:45 to 3:15. You have staff meetings, you have meet the teacher nights, you have PTA meetings, you have homework to grade, you have report cards to do. And the time you do that, you're looking at doing that stuff at home at night when you could be spending time with your family. They deserve a livable wage. And we must bring this problem of teacher pay to an end. In order to get teachers the pay they readily deserve. We must return the federal budget to the 2019 spending levels and reduce unnecessary federal programs. And we'll use the differences to fund the increases. We must restore a true curriculum to the classroom. We must get rid of this so-called woke education and return to teaching the ABCs, history, the good, the bad, the ugly. And you know, I don't know about you, but I am simply tired of hearing woke this, woke that, woke this. Let's give the school children in our classrooms the education they deserve and the education that we pay for. Not only do we need to increase teacher pay and return to a true curriculum in our classrooms, we must return a sense of patriotism to our classrooms. When I was in high school, I had a government teacher who was from a different political party than me. But during my high school years, he never tried to instill his party's agenda on me or the other students. His job, quite simply, was to teach you how government works. And he instilled a sense of patriotism and pride in you. My education plan, called Back to Basics, will pay teachers a livable wage they can live on, at the same time support their students and families. We owe it to the students in our classrooms to give them the best possible education. We must prepare them for the future. There are so many other countries around the world that their education system is funded so much better and the skills are so much better. We have to have that in the United States. And under my administration, we will. And the only way to do this, the only way to really get a solid, hardcore curriculum in the classroom is to take politics out of the classroom. It does not have a place in that classroom. We must, as a nation, once again, learn to respect one another. We have turned against each other in oftentimes violent ways. Families torn apart by senseless gun violence. So many times in the last 3 years, I have spoken to the American people about gun violence. It's got to come to an end. And we must pass gun reform that does not infringe on our constitutional rights, but it protects the citizens. It protects our citizens' rights. You know, and that's just one thing, you know, like I said, I've come here so often to talk about another shooting, and it's really got to come to an end. There's no need to have all this violence in this country. It's got to come to an end. And then again, under my administration, we will do that. Health, one of the ways that we are going to work on decreasing gun violence, and I believe one of the key ways to do this is to increase mental health spending. You know, you look at almost all the recent shootings. Somewhere along the lines there was a mental health crisis somewhere involved. We must increase mental health spending to get help to those who need it. And we can do that. We can do that. And it's not just throwing money at the program. We can put money into the program and get help to the people who need it. You know, the plan I've laid out here tonight is just a beginning to what I believe will restore the United States to the nation it once was. And I know that we can come together as one. You know, over the summer, I had the chance to visit the Reagan Presidential Library. President Reagan always had this great vision of America, of being that shining city on a hill. And I agree with President Reagan. We can be that shining city on a hill. And the beacon of democracy, not only for our own country, but for the nations of the world. And I want to end on this one note. There's a famous Texas painter, artist, named Tom Lee. And Tom Lee writes about how him and his wife Sarah live on the east side of the mountain. For it's on the east side of the mountain that you see the sun rise for the day ahead and not the sunset of the day that's past. I believe America's best days are ahead of us. And working together, becoming together as one, shaking hands, and just for dropping this violence, I know we can and we will accomplish that. May God bless you. May God bless our troops. And may God bless the United States of America. Thank you all very much. Thank you. Thank you.